on Friday at 9:30.
In half an hour, Sports Night features highlights from the FA Cup fourth round replays, Liverpool versus Norwich and Queen's Park Rangers against Arsenal. Also figure skating from the European Championships in Leningrad, and through the night live coverage from the Commonwealth Games. Now on BBC1, a look at how we can make our houses more efficient as Q.E.D explores the house that Bob built.
Every time I see work start on a building site, I get a gloomy feeling that the house isn't going to be as good as it should be. We lag disastrously behind many of our European neighbours when it comes to designing ordinary homes. Should you really need to turn the house water supply off just to change a washer and a tap? Or gouge channels in the wall if you want to put a new electric circuit in? Do you have to climb a ladder to clean the upstairs windows? Or for that matter, do you really want to live in the worst insulated houses in Northern Europe? What's wrong with us? I'm fed up with our approach to designing houses. It's hopelessly irrational and years out of date. And as far as borrowing ideas from Europe goes, forget it. There's no reason why new homes shouldn't be many times better at little or no extra cost. Just to prove the point, Q.E.D and I have built a brand new house from scratch. I didn't want a house of the future, but a building already on sale, where I could prove that my changes can easily be designed into an ordinary home. I picked this timber-framed house because, unusually, it already includes one or two of my ideas, and it's planned to be more adaptable than most. Then I had to decide where to build. One of my targets was to cut fuel costs, so I chose Milton Keynes, which has more experience of energy-saving homes than anywhere else in the country. It was in the town's energy park that our house went up. As it rose, our builders added a whole clutch of improvements to its plumbing, electricity, and insulation, all designed in. I took many ideas from Northern Europe, especially Germany, where they've been proved in use over many years. The single European market's only 2 years away. I don't think we're prepared to meet its challenge. But one thing we can do is build fast. Our house went up at truly amazing speed. Only 8 weeks after work began above the foundation block, it was completed. And not only finished, but ready to live in. Carpeted, curtained, and fully decorated. I was able to move in quickly because the house is sensibly dry assembled in a factory. There's no waiting until the walls lose thousands of litres of water. The finished house looks reassuringly ordinary, which is exactly what I planned. What changes have I put into it? One of the most important rooms in the house is the bathroom. So why isn't the plumbing better designed? Why can't taps have their washers changed without all the hassle of turning off the house water supply first? Here's the first minor modification I've made to our Q.E.D house. I haven't needed to turn the water off anywhere except on the cold tap I've actually been working on. The hot tap still works, as you can see, but the cold tap is off. That's because there's a little valve on the inlet pipe, as there is with every tap in the house. I just turn like this, and the water begins to flow. Turn the other way, and the water's cut off again. And so on. Now, these valves are entirely legal in the United Kingdom, And what's more, they're available here, but they're rarely used, although they've been compulsory in Germany for over 60 years. Now, there's another difference in the plumbing of our Q.E.D bathroom. I can get up at night and safely take a drink from the cold water tap in the bathroom. How is that possible when you're supposed to only drink from the fresh water tap in the kitchen? And how is it that the shower works at a good pressure when it has no pump? It's because of a change I've made in the loft. British builders usually put a water storage tank up there, but its water isn't fresh and creatures could have died in the tank. That's why one tap in the house must be linked to the rising main to guarantee fresh drinking water at one point. But look around this loft. No header tank. Our cold water comes straight from the main at high pressure. This gives me fresh water in every cold water tap in the house. Plenty of pressure to run the shower, no cold water tank to insulate against freezing, little chance of putting my foot through the ceiling, and no risk of contaminated water. This system has been mandatory in Germany from as long ago as 1954. It's also perfectly legal in the UK. How many people have it here? Oh, by the way, I had the loft boarded in next to the entrance, and I also had a loft light and a ladder installed. British builders are not obliged to do any of this. An objection to working off the mains only is that if the water's cut off, there's no emergency supply to the house. I've answered this question by putting an emergency high-pressure tank in the airing cupboard. Here is an example of a problem we faced all the time when asking for change. Both our builders and the water board genuinely believed there was no such acceptable tank available in the United Kingdom. After a hunt that went right across Europe, we found this one. Guess where? In England. I've taken the chance to install a plumbing improvement which I patented myself several years ago. It's designed to take nasty smells out of the smallest room. In this sealed box here is a standard lavatory extractor fan. The box is connected with a pipe which runs inside the wall and connects directly to the rim of the bowl. Now, when I switch the fan on, air and smells are sucked from the bowl and extracted right outside. Let me show you how it works. If I puff some smoke, like this, into the bowl, it should clear it in a trice. 1, 2, 3. No more nasty smells. The invention sold well, but alas, only in continental Europe. In case you wonder what happens when I flush the loo, I can promise you, water does not get sucked up by the fan. Now, there is another plumbing experience I've always hated. That's attaching a piece of hose pipe to the lowest point in the central heating system to drain it, and then run that pipe through the open front door on a freezing cold day and wait until the last drop's gone away. There has to be a better way. These pipes developed from a simpler idea. I plan to empty just the radiators tidily into the drain. Our site manager improved my scheme, adding separate taps for the hot and cold system. Ideas must be infectious. And while the house was being built, I asked for the power and light cables to be put in metal ducts in the walls. You can easily add new cables or replace existing ones without having to redecorate afterwards. This has been normal practice in Germany since just after the war. The finished house has boxes in the floor to let you get at the wiring. But I have to confess an error here. I should have specified larger diameter tubes. Mind you, if our electricians had been Germans, their rules would have made them advise larger pipes. The wires have nearly filled the ducts up. I did better in the living rooms. They contain an obvious idea, but who uses it? PowerPoints at shoulder level. It's easy to plug in portable equipment. Older people and those with bad backs no longer need to bend over to switch on. And I've taken precautions against the circuit failing. Aha. I don't need this torch anymore, because I had an emergency light installed near the fuse box so I can easily see to effect my repairs. The fuse box, incidentally, is conveniently situated at eye level, and the fuses are automatic and self-indicating, so if a circuit is overloaded, a switch flips down, and all I have to do to restore the circuit is simply flick up the lever. Fuse boards like these have been available in Germany for over 60 years and have become legal requirement in 1950. They're at last being installed in the United Kingdom. And there's also some progress being made, but not enough, with the design of windows. Who wants to go through this performance just because their windows open outwards and can't be cleaned from the inside? In this house they can, because the windows operate on a pivot, so you can get at them from the outside and the inside. Our house came with these windows and double glazing built in. Many don't, because it's not compulsory. But it does keep heat in. None of the designs of house in Milton Keynes Energy Park is without double glazing. Every new German house has had it since 1974. It's an appalling fact that British building regulations let our houses be the biggest energy gobblers in Northern Europe. Milton Keynes' Deputy Managing Director is John Walker.
If you go and look at a car, you expect to be able to find out what the mile per gallon figure is for that car. There's no such equivalent, or there wasn't any such equivalent for a house. People looking at houses perhaps never asked about energy efficiency because they didn't really know how to ask the question, and if they were given an answer, they didn't really know how to interpret it.
So Milton Keynes devised its own energy costing system. It's upside down. A low score is good. British homes score a bad 170. The West Germans come in lower at 140, and then there's a big improvement to Scandinavian houses down at the 100 level. In 1986, Milton Keynes opened an estate in its energy park where builders, large and small, were asked to design houses to achieve a score of 120 or lower. They were allowed to use any methods they liked. Houses like ours with timber frames, some shipped directly from Scandinavia, turned out to be among the most energy efficient. Their experiment worked, but what did the builders themselves think of it?
The general conclusion was there were minimal or sometimes nil costs involved, that it wasn't a difficult thing to achieve as long as builders thought it through in their design from day one rather than trying to add it on later. And the builders welcomed, in fact suggested, that we should apply it to the whole of Milton Keynes.
Exactly as I thought. Higher standards don't have to mean higher prices. Much encouraged, I set out to make the energy efficiency of our house as good as Scandinavian buildings. Nearly a quarter of the heat lost in British houses goes out through the floor. So I put extra insulation under the foundation slab. This also includes a slab in the house's thermal mass, making it cooler in summer and warmer in winter. The wall cavities are filled with special high insulation material, and in the loft there's 150 millimeters of mineral fiber instead of the usual 100. Hot water comes from the utility room, where there's a gas condensing boiler. It saves energy and money because it burns gas no less than 15% more efficiently than a conventional heater. These boilers have been available for several years, but only hold a tiny percentage of the market. It's partly because they cost more, but you can get that back in less than 5 years. But it's also partly because of the inertia of the installers. It's the same old reluctance to change. The heating of the house is divided into 3 separate zones: upstairs, downstairs, and the hot water system, so that they can be separately controlled for maximum efficiency. And I haven't scorned conventional energy savers either. All radiators are fitted with thermostatic valves to make sure that no room gets too hot, and the external doors are draft stripped. Many fireplaces are fitted with a damper operated by a small handle, which shuts off the chimney throat when there's no fire burning. That makes sure that no expensive hot air escapes through the chimney into the night sky. But the handle's small and very easily forgotten, so I prefer to go in for these glass doors, which are a permanent visible reminder if the fireplace isn't sealed. With all this insulation, we've created another problem: condensation. If the damp, warm air can't escape, it'll condense and rot the woodwork. To overcome this problem, we've installed on all the windows slot ventilators, which let in a controlled amount of fresh air. It's drawn through the house whenever humidity detectors switch on the fans to expel water-laden air. This extra ventilation wasted a little of our energy saving, but I had a final design dodge up my sleeve. Our biggest window area favors the south to help the sun keep rooms warm. The colder sides of the house have fewer and smaller windows, which equally prevents heat escaping. These changes save over £4 a week on fuel and cut our energy index to a desirable 99. The same as Scandinavia. This simple energy saving, using the best Milton Keynes approach, no fuss, no gadgets, no experiments, could have been made compulsory in the UK years ago. And that's only half the story. There's also the design challenge to come from Europe after 1992. Does it offer any more than I've already shown you? In Germany, they build in an entirely different way from the word go. This is a German house, all right. Look at this spacious hall. It's tiled all the way through. And this space here is actually the dining area where the family can set the table for 12 people. And this door gives way to a low-level conservatory. It has double glazing to let in the sun and warm the rest of the house and keep out noise. But the conservatory is the only place in the house with double glazing. All the other windows in this house are triple glazed, like this one, which is regular practice in Germany nowadays. And of course it's of the turn and tilt variety, which allows you to have draft-free ventilation. Downstairs is a huge basement which seems to go on forever. It holds a utility room, workroom, games room, and a store. Down here you can run your own business, give the children a room of their own to play in, and do all the washing and cleaning you like. We've asked experts in Britain why we can't have cellars, and they come up with amazing theories that the water table in Britain's too high and the cellars would flood. Now that must be nonsense. They do have cellars in Holland, and they can't be a more low-lying country than the Netherlands. And as you can see, this German basement is perfectly dry. The truth of the matter is that basements add to house cost. But in a country like ours, which is desperately short of building land, can we afford to do without the extra living space they give us? Remember, this is a totally different approach to building than the one we're used to, but I still think it makes very good sense. I'm standing on a reinforced concrete floor instead of the usual British floorboards on joists. The concrete is very strong, and what's more, it's virtually soundproof. The interior walls resist fire 3 times longer than in Britain, and the house insulation beats ours out of sight. Very nice, I hear you say, but it's too expensive for Britain, it's against the building regulations, it can't be done here. Wrong, wrong, and wrong again. And how do I know? Well, it's because this house is not in Germany, as you might have thought. It's right here in Milton Keynes, not 100 yards from our own Q.E.D. house. And if the German house's standard of comfort and energy conservation are available right here, why not elsewhere in Britain? When the Europeans arrive here in 2 years' time, their ideas should at last offer a fresh choice in housing. But whatever happens then, our house equipment also faces the need for further improvement to meet new problems. Tests with water meters are already taking place in 12 parts of England and Wales, and very soon we'll all have to have them and pay for every drop of water we use. This is our water meter, a little digital counter. A few minutes ago, I carelessly left a tap running in the bathroom. And as you can see, the counter is relentlessly clocking up every cubic meter. Spending a penny will soon be just that. It'll cost nearly a penny. The European approach can cut these costs. The average British WC uses 9 litres of water every time it flushes. Official figures say that UK families use the loo 10 times a day. We found a rather elegant loo, too late to have it installed. It's made in Sweden, and it is acceptable to the water authorities in this country. It uses the amazingly small amount of 3.75 litres each flush. Just look at the difference. You could save yourself nearly £20 a year on water charges by using a lavatory like this. Now, we British are a dirty lot, and on average take only 1 bath a week. A moderately clean family that takes a bath every 2 days could save up to £60 a year by using a shower. And I suggest if you're buying a new house, you check that its built-in kitchen equipment uses low quantities of water. Machines already in the shops can reduce future water bills by nearly £2 a week. And there's more to come from savings on low-energy equipment. I've gone in for goods easily available in British stores. After all, it's no good hearing of a marvelous machine available, but it's in Finland. Using less electricity makes environmental sense, and you save money doing it. This TV set operates about 30% more efficiently than most of its competitors, which means on 3 sets in this house you can save up to £16 a year. And there are great savings to be made on lighting, if you can afford the money up front. This is a modern fluorescent light. The cost is a frightening £18 a lamp, but it uses 5 times less electricity than an ordinary bulb and lasts 5 times as long. So I've replaced the standard bulbs by fluorescents in different shapes and sizes. There are 24 of these lamps in the house, saving a total of £1 a week, even allowing for their higher price. Fridges and freezers consume nearly 1/5 of all the electricity in our houses. This fridge freezer uses under half the usual amount. It's already on sale and looks like any average fridge. The dishwasher is equally economical. Altogether, low energy equipment plus lower fuel and water costs save us a grand total of £9 a week. Nothing is for nothing, of course. The machines we've used are not the cheapest on the market, but none of them is wildly expensive. And I've done this not by using experimental methods, but by putting together a package of items available in shops and builders' yards and designing it in. Controlling the house from a distance sounds like science fiction, but the technology exists. I've given our house prototype equipment. Drat! Missed it. Looks as if I'm going to be late home. That means problems. Open curtains could invite burglars. The preset oven means my food will be overcooked. And what's worse, I'll miss tomorrow's world. I'm going to phone the house to see how things are. I'm ringing a number in the study. It's unlisted. That'll cut down the chances of somebody unfriendly from getting through. Ah, I'm through. These bleeps are a further security device. If I don't send the right code within 5 seconds, the house won't obey any command it's given. This light is telling me that the oven's switched on, while this one says that the security system is operating. That tells me that there are no burglars. Well, let's make sure things stay that way. That button closes the curtains. And another button switches on a standard lamp. That should make the house look occupied and discourage casual intruders. Now, to stop the dinner overcooking, turn the oven off. And I don't have to miss tomorrow's world. Switch the video to record. A simple answer phone is all I need to work these wonders, with added circuits to relay signals from my control box. It's so simple that an electronics expert made my prototype in under a month, using only standard parts. What a sense of power to close the curtains by phone from the same room. And that's our new home. Apart from the automatic control which is coming, we could have it all now. My one-off demonstration changes added roughly 5% to the house's sale price. But alter the design approach. Imagine the changes were put on a full production basis, with services like plumbing and electrics coming from the factory, as much of this well-made house already does. Electric ducts would be supplied already cut and bent to size, ready to slot into planned positions. Plumbing on site would be reduced to joining up pipe runs prepared in advance at the factory. There'd be far less wastage of pricey materials and huge savings on expensive labor. Just think of it. Better houses for the same money. Can it happen? Ideas and actual houses will come in from Europe once we get more closely bound to our neighbors. We can only compete if we can get our act together and stop putting up houses the way we do just because that's the way it's always been done. For the moment, I fear that the combination of most of those ideas in a single UK house still doesn't exist. Meanwhile, I have another little job to attend to. This cover plate's been screwed on with 2 screws. One, a normal slot-headed screw, and the other one, would you believe it, a cross-headed Phillips screw. Here we go again. If you want high standards, it's up to you to demand them. And I wish you luck. Where is that Phillips screwdriver?
If you'd like further information on the design ideas shown in the house that Bob built, please send a stamped, self-addressed envelope to Q.E.D, The House That Bob Built, BBC Television, London W12 7RJ.